Okay, okay, okay. I know I'm ridiculously late to Spider-Man Miles Morales game review, but I have the Platinum Trophy now, and I'm ready to talk about it. Spider-Man Miles Morales picks up after the events of the 2018 Spider-Man game. You know, the greatest game of all time. In many ways, this game is a coming-of-age story for Miles, and I don't know whether it was me just getting better at the game, but I definitely felt as though Miles himself was easier to control, better at fighting and web-slinging by the end of the game than he was at the start. Because I want to get Spider-Man 2 early, I'm going to say that the game was designed this way, which is a pro move. On a side note, Insomniac, please send me Spider-Man 2 early. I will beg and send you cookies. I would say the game difficulty is a nice good level of challenge. Even New Game Plus on the hardest difficulty isn't impossible. It's just the right level of a challenge. I hope that makes sense. I heard a lot of negatives about the game length, or lack of it. If you concentrate on the main story missions, then you can breeze through the game in 6 to 8 hours. I hasten to remind people that Uncharted Lost Legacy is exactly the same length, yet where it seems acceptable for Uncharted, it's unacceptable for Spider-Man. If you're so bothered about getting your money's worth out of the game, then I suggest you just concentrate on more than the main story. There's plenty in Spider-Man Miles Morales to keep you busy. Postcards, sound samples, time capsules, and underground caches are just the start of all the extras this game has to offer. Speaking of sound samples, that unfortunately brings me on to my first negative point of the game. Later in the storyline, you have a mission with the Prowler, whose spoilers is your Uncle Aaron, and he wants you to recreate the soundtrack that him and his brother, who is the police officer Jefferson, whose Miles' dad died in the first Spider-Man game. And they want to recreate the sound that they created. It's a nice homage, and you get a really kick-ass suit from doing this, and of course a Platinum Trophy, but it does seem so unnecessary to have in the game. I would have preferred that to be a slightly different collectible. By all means, have that extra collectible and something you do for your uncle, but it just didn't work for me. I think some of that had to do with the fact that it was quite late game that you got the sound sample side mission tasks, and by that point of the story, you're so invested that you just want to finish the story by that point of the game. And that's not because, oh man, I have to finish this damn story. That's it. I'm really invested in this story. I need to complete this story. I need to find out what happens. And you're making me find sound set sample collections where you spend most of your time trying to find a specific point in the game of where to stand before it registers that you got it right. I generally think I would have not minded it as much had that collectible become available much earlier in the game. Whilst we're talking about collectibles, one thing that I really enjoyed that they did with the underground caches is they started including them in some of the missions as well. So I think it's 50 underground caches that you have to find throughout the game, but inside the game there's actually more than 50, which is actually pretty cool because it means that you can find them in unusual places, like in the middle of a mission, rather than just swinging around New York, which, let's face it, is great fun. But it just means that it adds that extra layer to finding underground caches. Time capsules are the backpack replacements in Spider-Man Miles Morales, and they do exactly the same job as the backpacks did in Spider-Man 2018. They fill in some of the backstory of the Miles character. The postcards are a birthday scavenger hunt that become available after you've completed the main story, and it's a nice little tribute because it does feature some more of everybody's favourite Officer Jefferson. So let's talk about the story. Obviously, be careful of spoilers if you haven't played the game yet. You could sum up the story with a simple sound effect of clapping, round of applause, people stand up, cheering, throwing their underpants, and just £5 notes at the story writers. Insomniac have done it again. Incredible storyline. I was in tears at the end. Not dramatic tears, but I was in tears by the end of the story. They invest you so well in the game that you're enthralled. Absolutely enthralled. You care about every single character in their game. So it truly is hats off to the writing team at Insomniac. I can't think of many better written games than Spider-Man 2018 and Spider-Man Miles Morales. The game starts with a beautiful mission which involves Peter and Miles working together as they escort the Rhino back to the raft. But obviously it goes wrong and you end up riding the Rhino through a shopping mall. You ride him on his back like he's a My Little Pony action figure. In fact, there's a great little trophy for steering Rhino into 15 breakable objects while going through the mall. The trophy god wanted you to smash things, so we smash things. Towards the end of the fight with Rhino, it appears Spider-Man has been taken down, he's weak, and this is the time that Miles Morales reveals his second power, Venom Punch, which is one of the best inclusions of a game ever. Basically, it's a superpowered charged hit. I think there's a Venom Punch, a Venom Smash, and a Venom Dash, I think they're called. And they just make the fighting so unique with Miles. Obviously, Miles and Peter have pretty much exactly the same powers. And one of my big kind of, not worries, but kind of thoughts at the beginning when I was told they were talking about releasing the game, was how they were going to make the fighting feel the same but unique. So they're both Spider-Man, but they have their own unique fighting prowess. So Peter has more of the quips, Miles has Venom power. Not really sure which one I'd rather have. I think saying that Peter has the quips rather than a unique fighting prowess is actually not doing very much justice. So I will say that Peter has the gadgets, Miles has the Venom. Yeah, that seems fair. But Peter Parker goes on holiday with Mary Jane, or a working holiday, sorry, with Mary Jane. And Miles is left on his own to look after New York for the very first time. And this is when a group of people called the Underground appeared, who are led by a mysterious person called the Tinkerer. After one of the greatest gaming moments of 2020 on the bridge, where everything's collapsing around, you have to try and web everything up, spin it around, save as many people as possible, and boom! It's revealed that the Tinkerer is your best mate Finn. And it's nice to find all of the time capsules because they're time capsules left by Miles and Finn. And whilst nothing will be taken away from the end of the game if you didn't find any time capsules, I think finding the time capsules only adds to the ending of the game. So Finn is trying to spring an end to Roxxon, who's like the Norman Osborn of Miles Morales, but not actually Norman Osborn. It's a different person. And he travels through the game, completing missions, etc, etc, etc. And it all comes to a head in Harlem, where the big final battle takes place. And when I say final battle, I mean final battle. They did such a good job of making it feel like a war zone in Harlem that it's just one of my favourite gaming moments of all times. But you fight Finn, and towards the end, a big reactor is going to overload. So what Miles does is he absorbs all the energy, and that charges up his Venom powers, which means that if he goes critical, so to speak, unleashes that energy, where he stood, everything's going to blow up because that's a big release of energy. So Finn, seeing the wrong words of our ways, grabs hold of Miles, flies up in the air with the Tinker's technology, and Miles releases his energy with Finn still holding onto him high up in the sky. And we're led to believe that Finn dies, Miles falls to the ground, and I was one step away from ugly crying at the end of this game. It's so much better than what I'm describing. So let me just explain what ugly crying means. So at the end of Spider-Man 2018, obviously Aunt May dies and passes away. That's ugly crying. Okay, at the end of that was ugly crying. I was uncontrollable. At the end of Miles Morales, I wasn't ugly crying, but there was definitely tears in my eyes. If you want to see it, if you want to hear it, go to my YouTube channel, Corner of the Internet, link in the description, and check out my Let's Play full Spider-Man Miles Morales Let's Play over there, and you'll see exactly why. It's a beautiful game ending. But we don't see Finn's body, which probably leads me to believe that Finn is going to come back at some point. Because if you don't see the body, they ain't dead. And in fairness, I'd really like to see Finn again. I think there's a lot more they could do with her story. So great if she comes back. I cannot believe I've got this far into the review without talking about the friendly neighborhood Spidey app. So there you go. I've mentioned it. You're welcome. In all seriousness, I really like this feature. It's basically a phone which has all the crimes of New York on. So in Spider-Man 2018, you have to swing around and wait for the crimes to randomly pop up. On the app, you can select the one you want to do, and it pops up for you. I do like that. I think that's an improvement that they've made from the 2018 Spider-Man game. And since you had to complete all the bonus objectives to get the trophy, in the way of the Platinum Trophy, it makes getting that trophy a little bit easier. Man, I said trophy an awful lot in that sentence. Now, last thing I want to talk about is the Spidey suits. There's actually a fantastic collection of Spidey suits in the game, and if you go in after the Platinum Trophy, you have to unlock them all. I mentioned briefly the one that you unlock for finding all of the sound samples. This is probably one of my favourite suits in the game. But as I say, the Platinum Trophy means you have to unlock all of the suits. So when you get your hard-earned tokens for completing missions, side missions, challenges such as the Spider-Man trading challenges, spend them all in suits before you spend them in gadgets. And in fairness, apart from the remote mine, I wasn't a big fan of the gadgets. I did really miss the impact web from Spider-Man 2018 and really hope that comes back in Spider-Man 2. Speaking of Spider-Man 2, we had a post-credit scene in Spider-Man Miles Morales. Post-credit scene is 100% from Harry Osborn's point of view. He's waking up in the green tank we saw him in at the end of Spider-Man 2018, still surrounded by the Venom symbiote. His dad Norman tells Doc Connors, also known as the Lizard, to wake him up and let him out. Doc Connors advises against it. So let me just theorize very quickly what I think is going to happen in Spider-Man 2. I think it's fairly obvious Harry is going to be Venom. There could be a curveball, but I think Harry is going to be Venom. Norman's going to take on the Green Goblin mantle to try and bring Harry back to the light, if you want to put it that way. Doc Connors is going to get dragged into it and become the Lizard, and it's going to be an absolute four-way battle with them and Spider-Man. I could probably spend another 25 minutes talking about Spider-Man Miles Morales and theorizing about Spider-Man 2 and kind of who's going to be in it and things like that. If that's something you guys would like to see, then I'd really be happy to make some more theory videos about Spider-Man 2 for the channel. So do leave me a comment down below if you would like to see them sort of things. But I'm going to get out of here because I've rambled for long enough. I've taken up far too much of your time. If you are watching at this point, it is quite obvious you like what we do here at Team Thumb. So please hit that subscribe button, like, and please share this with a friend because this has all the makings of one of the greatest things we have ever done. And I want to see it succeed. So share it with one friend, tell some people about it, tweet it out, share it, and things like that. Make sure you check out the videos that you can see on the screen right now. Subscribe, hit the bell in the middle to subscribe. And most importantly, have yourselves a web-swinging, fantastical day. My name's Andy. I'll see you again soon.